Hey there, this is Ragnon, and I want to do a quick VOD review of playing Holy Priest on Sarkareth and see if I can be helpful for anybody who might be progressing this and finishing off getting their cutting edge before the end of the season. I know it's a little bit late in the season to be doing a video like this, but I swapped to healing rather late, and I'm planning to do more videos like this earlier in the tier, starting in 10.2. So uh, here before pull, it's important to make sure that you have 2 stacks of 14 banked up on your palms so that they can bounce around and can get a much earlier apotheosis. Here, when I gate, I like to, here I'll pause it real quick. When I gate, I like to use my Desperate Prayer right before taking the gate. This is that way, if you accidentally take it just a hair late, you're fine. You don't necessarily need it during the clear. It's important to make sure that you're safe during the gate. As soon as I land, the very first thing that I do is I drop a Sanctify to cover everybody's health, and then circle, star, using any palm resets that I get or anything like that, and then trying to find whoever the lowest health target is to hit with the Serenity, just making sure you get all that on cooldown. Once you get all that going, then you can go ahead and go back to DPSing and stuff. But it's important to make sure you're getting all of your palm resets cast as quickly as possible. Here, right on the knockback, I use my Shadow Fiend and my Blood Elf Racial for the mana, since I've dropped a little bit. And then I usually get a proc here of my answered prayers, so I try to utilize that to make sure that I'm going right here into this breath with as many holy words as I can. In this case, I have all of them except for chastise. So as soon as I get hit with this breath, I've faded. I'm going to target myself and the ranged with a Sanctify, and then use as many of my other instant casts as I can. I should honestly dispel myself, but I'm just kind of healing and padding a little bit on it, if I'm honest. Finding a low health target to hit with a Serenity. Here, you can go on the far side or the near side. With my particular cooldowns, I've been on early progression. I was doing Salve here, and then Divine Hymn on the Glittering Surge, but I've swapped those. I don't have a particular reason why. You could do either cooldown, whatever your raid has assigned for you. It works fine. So here I've been standing on the close side, and if you start channeling Divine Hymn right before the breath goes off, you don't necessarily need Spatial at all. That Spatial Paradox was nice to be able to cast stuff as we're moving to get some more resets. So here I start casting Divine Hymn. It was a hair late, so you're going to see the swirlies start coming up as I'm finishing, and luckily I didn't get hit. I like to come out of this by sanctifying the ranged. I've been putting my sanctifies and stuff mostly on the ranged, just because we have a Holy Pal, and I figure he and the Evoker are mostly going to be covering melee. So here, that's where I use my Symbol of Hope, because there's no movement there. That after you run out of those bombs, there's no swirlies that you have to dodge, so that's a really good moment to finish it. There's also usually nothing to heal, and then as soon as the Symbol of Hope ends, there's some good healing to do, so I like to use my Circle of Hope there and start spamming out Prayer of Healings. That's also a good moment for a Sanctify and stuff. And then always making sure that you're facing the melee when you're shooting at your Divine Stars, so that you're hitting both the ranged and the melee. During movement, I like to use my Divine Star. I like to use my Rhapsody procs and stuff like that. There's a really good moment for that. Prayer of Mending, Circle, all your good instant casts. Right here, I did have an Answered Prayers proc. Sometimes I don't, but what I'm always doing in this moment is I'm spamming out Prayer of Healings after doing Circle of Healing to try to get at least one charge of Sanctify, because as soon as I'm done casting Salve, I want to be able to cast Sanctify or some holy word at minimum, so that I can get my Divine Image up and start spamming out heals. So right here, I'm doing that. I'm getting my palm. I'm trying to get a charge of Sanctify, and I did get one. And then right here, I'm fortunate to have a Spatial, so I'm able to cast it. If you don't have a Spatial, I guess I would just cast it early. I don't know. You really do need a Bop or a Spatial here for either Divine Hymn, especially Divine Hymn, but it's really nice for Salve too. As you can see there, I was still able to start my Salve cast while moving out of that swirly. So I'll back that up just a hair. So you can see right here, I like standing right in front of the person that has the disintegrate, because I've had problems with missing it. If you have to move like that, remember that the disintegrate comes from his image, not himself. So right out of that, I like to salve and then sanctify, and then just use everything that you can. So usually in that moment, because this is the second biggest healing moment of the fight, possibly the biggest. Um, I like to get my. I don't know if I can slow this down. Yeah, let's slow this down a little bit here. So I get my salve off. I'm just a little bit slow. Typically, I like to have my salve hit as soon as the disintegrate damage hits. Right after that, I'm following it up with a sanctify on as many people as I can possibly hit. And then from here on, I'm just using palm as quickly as I can anytime it resets. And then I'm working my way through all of my instant casts. My goal is to get my 20 stack Rhapsody cast, my Divine Star, Circle. If I have a low target that I can hit with a Serenity, that's great. And then as a last priority, after everything's done, then I'll go into Prayer of Healing spamming. But many times I don't have a chance to get to that. So you can see here, Circle, I'm going to Rhapsody or Divine Star, and then Holy Nova. And now you can see I'm out of everything. So I'm going to start casting a Prayer of Healing to try to get a Sanctify. And so I cast that, and I immediately use the Sanctify proc right after that, and then we're pretty much done. So that's kind of my thought process on how I've been able to maximize. Now, right here, as we're standing, we are taking ticking damage, and so that's a good moment to get some mastery out on Echo of Light and stuff. So while you're standing here, you don't want to screw up your stack because of this, but if you can stutter step, or if you're brave enough to stand out and get pushed back, then you can do some Prayer of Healing casts. I've stopped doing that because I've messed up once or twice, and even once or twice kind of screws the group, so I've kind of stopped doing that. But while I'm here, I'm using my Rhapsody procs. I'm using Circle, Palm, Divine Star, whatever I can to try to get some mastery rolling on the group. So that way, when we're downstairs here in the intermission, people are ticking up and I'm getting some good healing. So unfortunately, I got kind of a bad drop here. So I have to really just kind of stutter step and tiptoe in there. And as a result, I got a pretty bad stack. I actually almost died here because I kind of greeted this extra moat. And I was pretty close on coming up. But while I'm downstairs, I like casting Palm and Circle on cooldown. One, it looks nicer on WoW Analyzer if you plug in the log, and two, it just kind of gets more Palm stacks and stuff. But it makes your WoW Analyzer a little bit more accurate. Now, in this phase right here, the only healing that really comes is with the people that are picking up bombs. You can get some nice Serenity procs on them. So you can see right here, Rush Dog, I'm actually watching for when he comes up, and I'm going to hit him with a big Serenity. And so I'll point that out later. But the only damage in this phase comes from the knockbacks. So here on the Dispels, I'm spending the time in between just kind of damaging, making sure that I put Shadow Word Pain on the ads, especially the little ads, because that's a good way to proc your Twisted Fate to give extra healing and extra damage. So it is worth damaging the ads and stuff like that, even if it's just for that. And honestly, with just keeping Holy Fire on cooldown and using Shadow Word Pain and stuff and Divine Starring towards the boss to hit stuff, I was able to get, I think it's like a 68 or 69 damage parse on this without really going crazy. So it's pretty easy to get a good damage parse as well. So here on the knockback, I've banked up a Sanctify charge. What I like to do is if it looks like I can get good value while we're flying through the air, then I'll do that. But I've noticed that people are getting much faster about getting back in position, so I've started waiting with my Sanctify. So you can see right here, I would Dispel, and then that one I did do the Sanctify in the air, but sometimes I wait and I use it on either the melee or the ranged. But that's a good moment to use your stuff is when you're recovering from the knockback. That's really the only big healing that happens unless people are failing at kicking the ads. So right here, I'm Prayer of Healing, I'm just using my damage now, getting off Holy Fires, tab targeting, and doing Shadow Word Pains. Or that's what I normally do. I guess I didn't do it in this one. So here, this is the gate knock. So you want to make sure that you're positioned carefully, because I've had one or two pulls where I was too far to this side and I have knocked myself off the edge. So you want to make sure that you're getting knocked right past this little lip of the circle towards the gate, and then gating as quickly as you can. And this is where I like to recover with Sanctify. I forgot to mention, but as soon as this phase starts, as soon as you come upstairs, you could, if you're Blood Elf, you can use your Blood Elf racial again. And so that's the timing that I go for in order to keep that mana regen going. And then right here, right after that gateway, this is where you can fit in your second Shadow Fiend to regenerate mana during this part. Now I was fortunate to get a spatial here, so I was able to spam some Prayer of Healings to get some CDR. And my answered prayers is about to proc. So this is where the damage starts rolling and ramping up. Everybody's starting to have a couple stacks of the debuff, and this is where you can really start getting some good healing. So make sure you have your palm on cooldown, circle of healing on cooldown. Right here is where the damage, there's a lot to heal. So I like to throw my Guardian Spirit. I don't have it assigned in this phase, so I throw it on the person who has this Infinite Duress, because this is a very easy one to die to, and they usually get quite low. So I usually hit them with a Guardian Spirit here just to keep it safe. Deku actually stayed really high health here, but that's not very common. And then right here, my goal is to blow everything I possibly can before we go downstairs. So I'm looking to spend my Rapture, or my Holy Nova Rhapsody proc. I'm looking to use up any holy words I have, Divine Star, get palms on cooldown, see if I can get a fat Serenity on somebody, and just get as much as I can, because with the intermission we got time for all that to come back. So I'm just using as many things as I can. And then here's the Rapture, got my Serenity off, and we now go downstairs with everything on cooldown, which is good. And you can see everybody has this healing absorb. The more healing that you can do right before you go down, that means that you have mastery proccing on everybody, and they're healing and ticking for those 6 seconds while they go downstairs. So that helps with those healing absorbs. Here you gather your stuff and wait until the last second to come upstairs. So don't be greedy. I like to just wait right next to it. And then I'm watching my weak aura here. He's also simultaneously calling it, but you want to be responsible for yourself too. So, and then they come up. Now here's the bait, and then soak. So you want to stack as arranged. Here when we come up, I'm trying to get palm on cooldown. I'm trying to heal anybody that didn't necessarily get topped while they were downstairs from hots and stuff. And then here the motion is a little bit dangerous. So our team baits right here, and then we move as a group, we bait right here, and then we run into melee. Whoever's has the black hole, they should be a little bit off to the side, so we're just soaking the edge of it, so we have room to move left. I find it's really finicky and dangerous, and there's a lot of swirlies, and so it's you have to be very careful when you're soaking this, because if you take a swirly, you're in big trouble. So you got to watch your feet during this. So I like moving right here, and then moving into center. And if it's really scuffy, sometimes I'll soak on the edge here and I'll move towards the right. And unfortunately, that means that I'm not necessarily stacked. It's probably not ideal, but it does help with avoiding swirlies if things are a real mess. Okay, so right here, I've got one thing on my mind. I want to make sure that I have 2 Sanctify charges. This is one of the rare situations where you actually want to blow all of your charges of Sanctify at once. You don't want to spread them out. So I'm banking these up. I'm going to be taking the time to heal all this with Circle and Star and any Rhapsody procs I have and stuff like that. But I'm going to make sure that however I can, I'm ending this little section of time with 2 stacks of Sanctify. Sometimes if my answered prayer procs here and I've got 2 charges already, I'll go ahead and blow one here, and then I'll cast some Prayer of Healings to try to get it back. But you want to make sure you have 2 Sanctify charges, and that's because I use them right after we gate, and I get a lot of value here. So I've got my 2 charges ready, and so I also was able to fit in a flash heal and make sure that I have my Serenity charges. So here we're all stacked up, and as soon as we mass dispel, I'm going to use my gateway control chart. As soon as my character starts moving, then I go ahead and gateway so that we can stack. And as soon as we land, I'll pause it once we do that. So here's the dispel. Okay, so in the air, what I have my mouse positioned, and I'm going to drop both Sanctifies and Holy Nova and Divine Star and anything else I can while we're all stacked up here. So here's Sanctify, Sanctify, Circle, Nova, Star, Palm, and then I'm fitting in. I happen to get a prayer proc here, Apotheosis proc. This is typically the moment where I channel my Symbol of Hope because we just used all of our defensives there and there's not much movement here. We're about to bait the bombs. This is the perfect moment to fit that in. Unfortunately, I had the proc here, or I guess fortunately. So I had to do both at the same time. So here I'm just using as many Prayer of Healings as I can and then immediately doing Symbol, and we were still able to get it off on time. And so here we bait a bomb, we move left, bait a bomb, move into melee, and this is one of the ones that we sacrifice. We sacrifice that black hole. Here is where I call for spatial. He did it a little early, and it was actually pretty nice. It was kind of spoiled this pull. I was actually got 2 spatials back to back, so really nice. But here's where I call for spatial because this is a big damage moment, and this is where I've been using my hymn. So I use him to help us recover here after all that movement, and then you can see here I got a second spatial. I'm spoiled, but so big healing moment, trying to recover the group using all my stuff, saving salve for when we do the next dispel and bombs and all that. So here we've got a hide. So just looking for the location where your character stops getting pushed back, and then you know you're safe. Visibility is kind of hard on this fight. So here with all this, I'm using Divine Star, all my stacked heals, Rhapsody, Sanctify is fine. Just trying to get as much CD as I can. We sacrifice this hole, and then the next mechanic here is the Dispel. So whoever gets this next Infinite Duress, they run up here towards the top left, and then they're going to get immediately dispelled. So you can, if everybody's pretty low, this is a good moment right here before the Dispel to use your salve. If you are the assigned Dispeller, though, you have to be careful because if you find yourself global locked and you're late on dispelling, you can screw the whole pull. So you have to be careful with this. I've opted to wait until after to use my salve. So right here we dispel. Now, when we were initially doing prov, this is when I would salve right here, but I found that I don't have time. Unless you get a spatial right here or something, we've got to bait these bombs. And if you are casting salve and you're standing on top of the bombs, you're going to get some stacks and you're possibly going to go down early or die with the damage. So I wait. So here I'm using instant casts and stuff that I can. Circle, Serenity, get my palm stacks going. And then here, after the bombs have been picked up and I can safely stand long enough to channel it, I go ahead and cast Salve. And this is going to give us value while we're ticking with all of these high stacks and we're looking for a place to stack to go down. So here he pings the swirly that we're going to go down to. So we stack. I try to get in as much as I can. Unfortunately, I was a little too slow to get some heals off. And here you just take it slow, just kind of chill, get a good stack of buffs. And then at the last second, you want to come up. He called it. He said we were good to come up, so I came up a hair early. And then here, there's not much healing to do between here and the kill. If you've got good damage and you're killing it at a reasonable time, there's like nothing here. So you can actually just fully DPS. I started, I got my Nova out and stuff like that. I got my assigned PI and then it just dies. So, but yeah, that's how I've approached this fight. If you don't kill it right there and you keep going, then what we've done in the past is whoever gets the infinite duresses, we don't dispel them and we just have them hold it. You'll need to hide, and sometimes there's not meteors in the middle. Sometimes you'll have to run over here towards the right and use one of the meteors over here, or just wherever they happen to be. And then if the dispels go off, just watch your knock. Location, make sure that you don't get knocked into a hole because it's very easy to do at that point in the fight, and you have until 8 minutes to kill it. So hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up in the comments. I check the comments very frequently throughout the day, and am happy to help out in any way I can. Again, I know this is late in the tier, but I am planning to do review and analysis videos like this for bosses going into next tier. So consider liking and subscribing. It helps me out a lot. You can catch my stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Mountain Time. That's when I stream our raids, and then I'll be streaming Mythic Plus and various other games and stuff occasionally on off nights. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.